Is Gavin Newsom going crazy? Trump's going to cancel the 2028 election? Apparently.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel's show isn't the only thing that got canceled. According to Gavin Newsom, the 2028 election might be canceled too if Trump gets his way. Here's what he said on Stephen Colbert's show.
We're struggling to communicate. We're struggling to win back now the majority in the House of Representatives, and that's a big part of what I'm doing, not just today in terms of the work out here, raising money, but also raising awareness around how Donald Trump is trying to rig the midterm elections and how I fear that we will not have an election in 2028. I really mean that at the core of my soul, unless we wake up to the code red, what's happening in this country, and we wake up soberly to how serious this moment is.
Yeah, that show's been canceled too. God, what an absolute loss for cable viewers and humanity at large. What a shame. Canceled. I mean, that guy, Stephen Colbert, is definitely worth $20 million a year. And obviously, you know, he still has another year, even though the show's been canceled. With guests like that giving pre-prepared political speeches, I don't know how you could possibly get rid of such a talent and such a voice of the people. Do I think Donald Trump is going to cancel the 2028 election? No. You want to know why? His party's probably going to win. So why wouldn't you have the election? Now, I'm assuming what he means by canceling, he's rigging the midterm election, and he's canceling the 2028 election. We're not going to have one. What he means is the Democrats are in a position, all the polls show this, where they're going to get annihilated. Annihilated. And good on them. I'm glad that they are ignoring all of the issues people care about. They are focusing on the issues people have decided absolutely they do not agree with en masse. A small group of super vocal lunatics who apparently comprise your base. They care about these things. Everybody else has said, no, we don't care about these things, or we totally disagree with the Democrat take on them, which is why we're abandoning the party en masse. And guess what? That's going to translate to giant election losses. And if you're going to try to tell me now, 3-4 years out, that it's going to be rigged, it's not going to be a real election, it's because you know you're going to lose and you want to somehow be able to pass the buck. You want to be able to say, oh, well, this wasn't a real election. This wasn't a real, it's like, you know, when communism fails and it kills millions of people, like, oh, well, I mean, this wasn't real communism. No. You can't blame communism for that. I can, I do, I will continue to, because it is. This is the consequences of your actions. This is the consequences of the policies that you put forward. If that means that the Democrat Party, like the Labour Party in the UK, is just getting swept into the pages of history because they no longer represent the will of the people or the will of essentially any large portion of the population, good. I'm glad. We probably do need another party to, you know, be at odds with the Republican Party, the conservative movement, these types of things. But if the Democrat Party is not that anymore, good. Good riddance. Goodbye. See ya. I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. I'm not even sad. But let's see. How am I wrong?
No election, 2028. It's canceled, I guess.
Yep.
Here's what I hate. I don't like Gavin Newsom.
No, me neither.
Also, what's with his voice? It sounded like he was doing an RFK impression or something like that.
Or he had a Joe Biden debate night, sort of cold.
Hopefully
not the cognitive decline.
I assume Gavin Newsom's saying everything is a calculation for running for president in 2020.
Oh, I think he's running. I think he's the front runner, maybe.
He's probably the front runner, and I'm not a fan of him. That being said, the part that bugs me about this, I think he's at red alert. I'm at like yellow alert, maybe even orange.
Oh, you
alert.
are?
Well, I mean, you know, while I am overall using Bayesian reasoning, I 70% think we're going to have an election. 80% think we're going to have an election.
99.99% think we'll have an election.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the Robbie Suave. Yeah, 99. Because again, he's saying Trump is going to cancel the election. Trump's party, the Republicans, probably J.D. Vance, whoever the inheritor of the mantle of MAGA is absolutely going to be in position of strength. They are probably going to win. Why would you cancel the election? Why wouldn't you go, oh yeah, we're just going to continue to keep power because we're doing what people wanted. We're enjoying incredible support for our, plans. And then also we have enormous moral authority with the fact that the other side is committing political violence at like the drop of a hat all the time. Yeah. I think we'll have an election. Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion that, yeah, we will.
It does. There is some room for doubt in that the current executive did try to subvert an election 2 cycles
We
ago.
still had the election. He just didn't agree with the outcome.
Yes, we perhaps we will have
And
democracy.
Hillary Clinton didn't
and
agree with the
it
outcome,
won't-
and John Kerry didn't agree with the outcome, and Al Gore didn't. Although in that election, it was actually unclear. you can't. In 2000, it was that
2000,
was
I'll
truly
give that a heads up.
No, everybody gets a pass for that one. It was that was a question mark
I think
election.
The best push on that is yes, that other people have done comparable things. There have been faithless electors, that kind of thing.
Trump took a little further.
I think Trump took it quite a bit further.
Yeah.
I'm actually more bothered by the lead up to the to January 6th than I am to January 6th itself. Well, I went
Yeah, I would agree with that.
through and I read the court cases, and what they would do is they'd go into a purple state. They'd say, Judge, we think the votes here in this blue city have been compromised. We don't want to recount. We just want you to throw out the blue city votes.
Right.
Which struck me as trying to use the judiciary on a technicality to overturn a democratic election. So I'm not.
I mean, I can understand that. I will also say the fact of the matter is that, there was a lot of election, would we call it interference? Let's say manipulation. The Zuckerberg basically spent, I think it was $200 million to very specifically target areas in which you had strong Democrat voter bases, and they wanted to spend that $200 million. And when he donated that stuff, he was able to specify exactly how they were going to spend it. And he said, all right, here's what I want you to do. You're going to put more voter booths. You're going to put more, election of these things. We're going to be able to cure ballots much more accurately in these areas specifically. And it's done in such a way that is, as far as I can tell, totally legal. But it is very much, you are doing this not to simply make the process more democratic. You're doing it for a specific outcome. And I think it's fair to say, it was a close election in a lot of these states. I think it's very fair to say, that influenced the result of the election. Now, if you want to say that that's totally democratic, that's part of the process, okay. I would say that's kind of a technicality as opposed to this really genuinely represented the groundswell of support, the will of the people. I'm not totally in agreement with that.
Inspired with confidence in the faith and rule of law of the current executive.
Well, not to defend those actions, because that sounds great, that's fine. It was done like in a court and then got laughed out of court, right? Everyone can, just like when somebody asks you, well, could you get sued for this? Like, everyone can get sued for anything. Because anyone can file a legal action against you. It's just, if it has no basis, it will be thrown out of court.
Okay, yeah. Let me rephrase it. If Trump could steal an election and he knew he was stealing with it, do you think he'd do it? If he knew he could get away with it?
Well, that's a different question.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's entirely different. That's an entirely different question. And it's also fair to say, if Gavin Newsom could steal an election, like if he wanted to say, hey, if we can get a national amendment or whatever, a bill passed that legalizes, just in terms of voter status, every single person who is in the U.S. illegally, and he has very good intelligence that says 99% of those people would vote Democrat. Do you think he would do it? Do you think he would do that? I think he would. I think probably almost every sitting politician or prospective politician, if they were able to basically just say, hey, you can press this button and it will win the election. However, it wins it totally illegally. It manipulates. It's going to put out a virus that just changes vote numbers, whatever. I think all of them would do it. Are you maybe like 2 or 3 super principled people like a Rand Paul or like a Thomas Massey? Maybe they wouldn't do it. Maybe. All the other ones would definitely do it. I mean, that's a completely different question.
Worried about when it comes to the integrity of the democratic process.
yeah.
I do think we'll have an election.
It's an interesting individual that the majority of Americans have decided should be our president. Not the majority the first time, and this time the clear majority said, yep, sign me up. Which I think cuts against the idea that he would try to cancel the election because he likes, no, it's not going to be him running. I guess that's the slightly more plausible conspiracy theory, is that he somehow seeks a 3rd term, although it's just like pretty directly
in theory,
not allowed in the Constitution.
Actually,
though.
okay, wait, let me think about this because they built it specifically around Truman, right? So you can have 2 of your own terms and half of another guy's term. Truman could run again. I was really rooting for Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. You know who could run again? Joe Biden.
Joe Biden could run again. Could Trump theoretically run as vice president for Vance and then take the
that is the strategy.
2-second
little murky ground on that. I don't think so.
Acceptable way to do it.
Yeah, there's some wiggle room on that. I think it's still not doable. Also, I think JD Vance wants to be president. It's like it's his turn.
Yeah.
You pick JD Vance as your designated successor so that there's no actual succession fight. It's not going to be a very competitive primary, I don't think.
I'll say that the thing that I'm gearing up for that I'm going to hate in the next election, I do think we're going to have an election. I just am less enthusiastic about American prospects at the moment than I have been in the past. I think we'll have an election. I'm bothered.
Will the Democrats have an election, or will they just say, actually, we decided it's you now?
Yeah. Right, kind of like they did the last time of the primary and the time before that. And was it also the time before that? Bernie, to correct me if I'm wrong, if you remember something else. Yeah. Weren't they supposed to have some sort of an election there?
One of the things that I'm bothered about is a lot of my Democratic friends are talking about how the election's going to be rigged. Now, I just spent the last 6 years going, the election wasn't rigged. It was a legitimate election. Joe Biden won. And now I'm going to have to go around to a lot of the same people that I was previously like, yes, they're correct, and go, no, it was a legitimate election. The Republicans won, whatever that thing is. I don't like it when everybody's undermining. I don't like people undermining elections. That's the thing.
It's a weird mix of stop saying crazy things that are wrong and, but you have the right to be skeptical, and just believing everything we're told is also stupid. It's nuance. I hate it. It's been nice to see a little bit of old-fashioned kind of left liberal progressive kookery lately, because Republicans have really cornered the market on that in recent times. But now some of these very regrettable, sad, violent incidents against Charlie Kirk and others.
Kind of seems like one side maybe went a little bit further with it.
Shooting at an ICE detention center, which actually just killed the detainees. It was not law enforcement people who were harmed. And the bullets say like anti-ICE, and I'm seeing progressive people be like, well, that could mean anything. I have no idea who did that.
I have no idea, no clue. Because I mean, the detainees were killed, and I'm like, the guy probably was just a terrible shot. Horrible that these people got killed. I mean, that is really bad. But he was probably almost certainly trying to kill ICE people, I would imagine, right? Because the bullets say that.
In fact, I don't believe it. I don't even think it was written on that. I'm like, well, this is some, it's better when it's spread out among all sides. People should be believing things that are wrong and laughable and dumb, regardless of political affiliation, would bring the temperature down in our country. Spread out your kooks. Do you know what I mean?
I would like to have a kook and idiot redistribution program. That's good. I, an avowed independent, do not want to have 2 parties where one party is crazy or stupid and one party's smart and or sane. That does not seem like a really stable situation.
Not only doesn't seem smart, doesn't seem stable, it doesn't seem like true. Because you're not going to have that. You're going to have, a bell curve on both sides. Because intelligence is not actually super well correlated to liberal, conservative. It's temperamental. It's temperament. That is what is correlated highly with your conservative leaning, your liberal leaning. It's not intelligence.
situation for me. Yeah, we can spread them around. I like it. A couple of years ago, you're going to hate I was at Burning Man, so let me just preface that. I was at Burning Man, and I sat down next to a guy, and I was like, "Hey,
were you dressed just like this?"
I was dressed just like this, except with no shirt. It was like it was game show host having a fair in Bermuda with the vibes that I had, and I went like, "Hey, good morning, guy," and he's like, "Yeah, I just took acid." I was like, "Terrific, okay," and he's like, "Might kick in." I mentioned I was living in Texas at the time, and he went, "Oh man, I have half a mind to go to Texas to make it blue, to make it purple." And I was like, "Well, why don't you just register as a Republican wherever you are right now? You could have that same impact within the Republican." And like, you could tell that for him, that was like me going, "Well, why don't you just become Catholic?" Because for him, it is a religion.
Yeah, why don't you just become Catholic? That's what a Catholic said.
Yeah.
So, very interesting stuff. Well, I'll see you in the next election if that happens. Maybe the Libertarian Party will have a candidate, or
for real. In 2020, I tried to bring back the Whig Party. If it hadn't been for the confluence of events that made in-person politicking difficult, my plan was to go to Louisiana, which is the easiest place to get on the ballot in the country. You've got to get X amount of ballot signatures in every county. So I was going to go down there and do that. I was going to bring the Whig Party back, and I was running as vice president because I thought it was kind of cocky to run.
You need
for
a
president.
military general at the top of the ticket. You need Zachary Taylor,
we weren't going to have that. We weren't going to run a presidential candidate.
Tippecanoe and Heaton too.
It was just in Heaton too. I was just running for vice president. No one was running for president. We were just going to have a blank space, and then I was going to be VP. So maybe I'll do that in 2028. Bring back the Whig Party.
You got my vote.
Very adorable. Yeah. So do I think Gavin Newsom is right? They're going to cancel the 2028 election? No, definitely not. The Republicans are poised to win. Why would Trump cancel the election that his party is poised to win and almost certainly will? He's not going to. Are they going to rig it? Again, one clear majority, and I would imagine if they're poised to win again, why would you rig it? You wouldn't. There's no reason to. Now, would he if he could and for sure got away with it? Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah. You know what? Who else I would say that for? Hillary Clinton, Bernie. Name a politician, and I would say, yeah, they'd probably rig it if they could, because they're a politician. That's kind of what they do. All right. Let me know what you think down in the comments. How am I wrong? Where am I right? What are some other videos and stuff that you'd like me to watch? Good luck in all your endeavors. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll say farewell for now.